Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. My name is Baron Collins Hill. In this week's lesson, we're going to be taking a look at something I talk about a lot on the channel, but I've never really made a lesson entirely devoted to kind of looking at it deeper. I often talk about sort of getting your right hand moving once you get a tune under your fingers, when you start adding double stops and shuffles. And I'm just going to take a quick look right into exactly what that means and how you can put it into your own playing. We're going to be using the tune Coleman's March. It's a classic tune that I've taught a bunch of different ways on the channel. If you don't know the tune already, check it out over at mandolessons.com, where I have all my lessons. They're all free. I put out new lessons every single week there on the website and also here on YouTube. So subscribe if you haven't already. All my lessons are always free. There are a couple ways to donate, whether it's Patreon, PayPal, or buying some merch. I have t-shirts and things like that. All the links are in the description. Greatly appreciated, but not required. And let's jump into today's lesson. All right, so using Coleman's March, I'm just going to go through with phrase by phrase and start with just the simple melody as I taught it in the Coleman's March lesson. And then I'm going to show you exactly what it means to get your right hand moving and fill out that sound a little bit. So our first phrase maybe sounds like this. And what that is, it's a good thing to think about, is it's really a collection of short and long notes. You can think of them as eighth and quarter notes, or eighth and even longer, maybe half notes in this particular example. Short, short, long, short, short, long, short, short, long, short, long, long, long. And really finding those long notes is an important part of figuring out where it is that you can add in some shuffles and some extra right hand movement. Because if your tune is straight eighth notes, something like Fisher's Hornpipe, your right hand is already moving about as fast as it's ever going to move. There's no time to pause, there's no space to fill in. But with Coleman's March, all that space, more space, space. It's a much more slowly moving melody, and that's taking note of where those kind of pauses are and those longer notes are is a great way to figure out where it is that you're going to have the time and space and physical capacity to fill in those spots. So what I've got there is I'm really just playing the open A and E strings. And that E string isn't in the key of D, but it ends up sounding pretty good, so I'll go with that for now. And just going through, we have short, short, long. And that's where you can throw in any number of right hand things. You can just get your right hand moving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then put that into the melody. And that is sort of as full as you can make the tune. I'm hitting lots of open strings. I'm really banging right through every eighth note. But that also does fill up the space maybe a little more than I personally am looking for. So maybe what you can do is add some space back in. It's always a balancing act of, filling in the space to make a nice full sound, but not making it so full that it becomes too much and a little kind of overburdening. So let's go, rather than just straight eighth, let's put what's called a shuffle pattern. And shuffle is so it's quarter, eighth, eighth, quarter, eighth, eighth, or short, short, long, short, short, long, short, short, and putting that do that again. Again, I'm just hitting the D and A strings now. If you hit the E, not the end of the world. And that really does a good job of filling in the sound, but still leaving some space for our ears to latch on to different sounds and not get overburdened by the which I find a little too busy. So that's really kind of the main thing that you can use as we go through, that second phrase has a lot more straight eighth notes in it, but there's still some space. So we have sometimes to keep that shuffle pattern, you can take a note out here and there from the melody just to sort of keep that shuffle pattern and play around with what notes you take out so you can tell if it's really affecting the melody in a way that you don't want to lose the melody and sort of get lost in the form. You want the melody to be very straight ahead, but you still want to be able to, keep that right hand moving, like I say a lot. So let's put those two phrases together. That's pretty much the whole A part. And really just try to get that shuffle pattern for now again. It's that classic shuffle. And then just try to fit that into the context of the tune to the best of your ability. Might sound something like this. Here we go. Again. Shuffle. 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 Take that same idea into the B part. And that'll really give you a great kind of entryway into what I say what I'm talking about when I say get your right hand moving in all of those play along jams and things like that. I think at this point the way to think about it is really put 90% of your attention on your right hand and just keeping that constant shuffle pattern going. And then as long as you know the tune already fairly well, like Coleman's March if you already know that one, and it's got some space in it, see if you can keep your right hand moving and also play something that sounds distinctly like Coleman's March with your left hand. And you may have to move a note around here and there, drop one out or add another one to make it work, but that's the whole idea, is just kind of that consistency in your right hand. Now once you get used to playing that sort of simple shuffle pattern, you can maybe go into more straight eighth ideas, like I often talk about what I kind of have the onomatopoeia, if you will, of wooga chucka. Wooga chucka, wooga chucka, wooga chucka. And that's a little, that's more kind of straight eighth, down up in your right hand. Which, as I said earlier, can be a little overbearing, it can be a little bit much, but if you do a little bit of wooga chucka and then leave a little bit of space and then do a little bit of that kind of classic shuffle pattern and mix things up as you go along, you might end up with something like this. And it's a little bit of everything. You know, I've got a little bit of straight melody, a little bit of double stops, a little bit of simple melody line with no double stops, a little bit of that classic shuffle pattern, and a little bit of wooga chugga. And by combining all of those, you get a much fuller sound than just straight melody all the time, with all that space. But it's also, you know, it's a nice middle ground between that and straight double stop, straight wooga chugga all the time. You know, by mixing things up, it can be a really great way to get a nice full sound out of the instrument. But the basics there really are, you know, focusing most of your attention on your right hand and getting that simple shuffle pattern into your fingers, or the wooga chugga, and then spending time not altering your right hand. And it might sound a little like a little much if you're, you know, in a practice situation where you're really just focusing on your right hand, and then, you know, trying to get something that sounds like the tune out of your left while you're putting all your focus on your right hand. But once you get comfortable with the kind of the physical aspect of getting your right hand moving, then you can start to play around with it and then kind of think more about your left hand and put everything together. I hope you found that helpful and interesting. I think it's a really great skill to work on once you've got the basic idea of a melody down. You know, the big things again to think of: keep the melody in mind. You don't want to lose the melody either melodically. You know, you don't want to drop out so many notes that the melody disappears. You also don't want to play so many double stops that you can't hear the melody over top of your drone strings and things like that. Keep your right hand moving. Mix things up so it doesn't get too overbearing at any given time, or too simple at any given time. You don't lose that kind of motor movement. You know, if you put too much space in, you might lose that energy. And if you put too much kind of straight eighth notes in, it might become a little overbearing. You know, find that nice happy medium space for you. It's different for everybody. Play around with it. That's kind of the whole artistic idea, is figure out what you like the sound of and see if you can achieve that in your own playing. Hope you found this helpful. Again, new lessons every single week here on YouTube and my website. Subscribe if you haven't already. A couple ways to donate if you found this lesson helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.